very good evening to all of you. First of all, I would like to apologize for coming a bit late because of the cyclone that crossed between Pondicherry and Kadalur resulted in flights getting delayed from Chennai. Nevertheless, I am glad that I made it because if any further delay was there, it would have been more disappointing to the students as well as to the parents. So in that sense, it is providential that I could be here. So I thank the Almighty for that. And a very good evening to Mr. Natarajan, Mr. Ponnuswamy, other members on the dais, and my friend Raghavendra Ravi, and also my dear fellow students, not fellow students, students and their parents. Maybe it is just going on in my mind that I go back to school and college when I am in such functions. That's why I mentioned as fellow students, because students are always very close to my heart. I like to interact with them, and none of these graduates was even born when I became a graduate from a management institute, which is Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. From those days to now, the kind of changes that have happened in the world augur very well for young graduates like you. So I'm going to talk a few things for your understanding and what we have gone through, what I have gone through in my own career, so that to illustrate a point, we quote an example of my experience. That doesn't mean that I'm actually talking about either Orchid or myself, because to convey a point, you need to give an example. To that extent, some referencing would be made. But I would like to convey two things at the outset. Number one is India has come a long way in the last 20-30 years. When I graduated, India was very different from the India that is today, which is making waves in the global market with GDP growth, maybe albeit a little bit of a slowdown now to around 6.5 to 7% in the current year, but in the last couple of years, 8 to 9%, and the 5-year plan is also talking about an average of 8 to 9% for the next 5 years. So India is playing an important role in the world market in any field that we can think of, right? That is one big advantage, because we are all, as Indians, will be in a position to contribute to the industrial growth and economy of India. If India is not having that kind of a position in the world market, our opportunities themselves will be very much limited. Because in my age, when I started my career, there was no internet, there was no mobile phone, there was no connectivity, there was no industrialization, there was no automation. I can go on and on. But all those things, in terms of right from product development to drug discovery to clinical research operations in pharmaceutical field to automobiles, there were only just two cars, Ambassador and Fiat, take it or leave it. Now you can see the kind of choices that we have. So the industrialization and globalization in India has opened up tremendous amount of opportunities for youngsters like you. This is the first point you should keep in mind. You are fortunate in that sense, because when I was born and brought up, and when I started my career, these opportunities were not there, right? To that extent, you are really in a very advantageous position in your life and career. Number two, age is on your side, because I am 52 now. I can go on for another maybe 10, 15 years, 20 years, but you can go on for 40 years, 45 years, 50 years, right? So you are young as an individual, and the country is providing an opportunity in the industrial and world market in such a way today that a combination of these two things is going to do wonders, not only for you, but also for the country, right? So with these two things at the back of your mind, I would like to talk of few things. One, when you either work for someone or you start something on your own, the entrepreneurial approach towards work ethic, what I call as work ethic, should not be forgotten. So I have certain definitions of characteristic of that, what kind of a work ethic. If you are doing something at a strategic level, for the sake of remembrance and recall, I would call it a power of 5. Means that there are 5 factors that have helped me in christening Orchid and developing it the way it is now and the way it can be tomorrow. And you keep this power of 5 as principles. Whenever you strategize something, you may not be in a position to strategize something today in your life or in your career. If you are an employee at a junior level in an organization, you may not be able to participate in the strategy. That is understandable. But many of you can start your own business, because being neither a chemist nor an engineer, if I could start and run a pharmaceutical company and with 4,000 people, I'm sure some of you can do it. So it is not that you have to be a science graduate to start something in science. So there are certain things which I call as attributes which are required for strategic orientation. So in any company where you work also, you can participate. Where you start some business also, you can think of that. The first and foremost thing is passion. You got to believe that yes, you can do it. My grandmother used to tell me, when I was young and I did up to intermediate, I studied in Telugu medium. Because my father was a booking clerk in railways, he used to be transferred in Andhra region between Vijayawada and Gudur. So I was brought up in Tenali. So there was no English medium school at that time in early 60s. So after intermediate, BCom I wanted to do English medium because that's when it was introduced. But I couldn't read beyond the first paragraph in economics, that Samuelson's book, and I couldn't understand or remember anything, and I was not able to articulate in English. But my grandmother, who was obviously an unpad lady, because in those days obviously they never went to school, but she kept on encouraging me, saying that if others can do it, you can do it. You have it in you, you study, you can do it. If others can do it, you can do it. You are not inferior to someone else. So that kind of a very positive strokes that she used to give me made me not only complete the course, but as was mentioned in the introduction, I stood first in the university, not only in the college, in the town. So why I'm giving this example is that you got to believe in yourself and have the passion, saying that yes, I want to do something in life. You can make a difference. You can live for anything, but you have to live for something. You understand the difference? You can live for anything, but you have to live for something. Because life is one, it should not be spent in a way that you just meander along and are not recognized for something. I don't mean recognition by way of awards and rewards. Recognition with the satisfaction that you have been able to contribute to something in society for some cause at some point of time in your life. Don't live an existence where you are just one of the cogs in the wheel. You have to be the change agent that the country and the world is looking for. You have it in you and you can do it. So the first message that I want to give in the Power of Five is have passion. Okay. And the second is you have to identify something, what I call as a project. It doesn't mean that it has to be manufacturing. As in the introduction, about my introduction, it was mentioned also that I taken up manufacturing. It is just one sector, an important sector, definitely. But these days, as I said in the beginning, Indian opportunities that are there is giving you so much of an opening into non-manufacturing areas as well. It could be in services, it could be in education, it could be in training, it could be in development, it could be in clinical research, it could be in R&D areas of basic invention, it could be anything. So you got to identify something which the world is looking for, and gone are the days where there used to be a kind of what I call a push technology. You make an ambassador, Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3, Mark 4, change the bumper, change the headlight, and push it down the throat of the consumer, saying that it's a new model. That's gone now, right? It is a pull model now, which means what? What the customers want is what the manufacturers have to make. The world has changed 180 degrees in the last few years. So when I talk of the pull model, you got to identify what the consumer would want in the world and create something and then make it big. What is the meaning of this Google, Facebook, Groupon? You keep reading about all these things in the international market. Do you think those Americans or whoever has invented these things are having two horns? No, they are also like us. What they have done differently, they have identified an opportunity, they have identified a need, they have identified something which doesn't exist, and from a pull point of view from the consumer, they're able to provide a product which has been taken up and valued extraordinarily in the world, right? So the second aspect that you should keep in mind in my experience and view is identify a right product project opportunity for you to do something on your own, because you cannot nobody can solve country's foreign exchange problem, can we? No. Nobody can solve the country's unemployment problem. Nobody can solve the asset creation problem. Nobody can solve the infrastructure problem. But if you are able to make a difference, starting with 5 people, if today Orchid is employing 4,000 people, cumulatively we have earned a foreign exchange net of imports of more than $2 billion US. And we have been able to create assets more than 3,000 crores in multiple locations in terms of factories and offices. And we have, from zero, we have been able to get 644 patents, and the knowledge base is created, and 250 of them have already been granted by the US Patent Office. So we create something which we can say that we have made some difference to this society, right? So like that, we have to identify some product and project opportunity which can create a ripple effect, a positive ripple effect among us in this society and in the economy. And the third thing is perseverance. Means you got to keep going at it even if you stumble and you fail. You would have heard this adage and saying when Thomas Edison was asked about the making of the bulb or this electricity, he said that he only learned 2,000 ways of how not to do things because he didn't consider those 2,000 attempts as failures, right? So the question is, you have to keep persevering and never give up as an attitude. And the fourth thing is anticipate. This is a very important trait we need to develop. I don't believe that entrepreneurs are born. I believe entrepreneurs can be made. Means anybody can become an entrepreneur if he applies his mind or her mind and have some qualities in terms of anticipating what can go wrong in the world or what is the change that is happening in the world and provide for it much earlier. That's what we have done in our industry. For example, we started with one particular antibiotic called cephalexin, which is which cures the disease in terms of the throat infections, lung infections, and things like that. When we started the company 18 years ago, the price of cephalexin in the world market was $143. Okay, now it is only $40. Obviously, nobody can save a raw material cost by more than $100 when the price itself is $43, right? So we had to anticipate that this kind of a commoditization will happen in a product like that and quickly add products, quickly add markets, right? And quickly diversify into other product ranges, both in location and in technology. So without that anticipation, we wouldn't have grown from a 40 crore company to 1,800 crore last year, $400 million. The previous year was 300 million. We grew by another $100 million last year, and current year target is $500 million. We wouldn't have become a $500 million company if we did not have the power of anticipation created and ingrained into the value system in the company. That's very important because you got to anticipate and see what kind of competition can be there, what kind of products are coming out of patent in the world market. In the age of internet and technology, information is available. You got to process it, you got to develop your strategy and be ahead of other people. So this power of anticipation is very important in any field and every field that you choose. This is the fourth aspect, in my opinion, you should remember. And the fifth and the last one is in terms of having a role model in anything that you do and learn from it. There is no shame in this world to say that I don't know. As I said in the beginning, I'm not a chemist or engineer or a scientist, but still technology-driven pharmaceutical company is what I'm running. I have no shame in telling my vice president manufacturing, saying that I don't know, I cannot differentiate between acid and alkali. Explain to me what is the meaning of pH. Or explain to me the liquid-liquid extraction in terms of solvent separations. Explain to me the principle of centrifuging and dryers. Now I know a lot of things because I keep asking people and trying to learn and understand. I'm good at a few things which I know in terms of either convincing people, arranging money, having an anticipation, getting a project idea together. In these things I'm good. But nobody knows everything. So the first and foremost aspect we should have in terms of learning is the humility to understand that you know only a little, what you don't know is a lot, and hence have the basic philosophy of wanting to learn. In that learning process, what happens is that you can learn a lot of things from many people and many companies, and in a positive and in a negative way, in the sense that you can anticipate, you can learn and say that we should not be doing those mistakes which other people have done. That comes from learning. For example, I myself looked at integration from Reliance. I learned integration. People say a lot of things about them in different ways. I don't care. But nobody has conceived such a large complex integrating petrochemical manufacturing in our country except Dhirubhai Ambani. So in terms of size and depth and breadth of an activity is something which can be done, is something which I can learn from there. In terms of corporate governance, you can learn a lot of things from Mr. Narayana Murthy. In terms of basic research and pharmaceutical manufacturing, you can learn a lot from Dr. Reddy's. So I can go on and on. So we have to have role models in whatever we do and try to learn from them and incorporate that in our philosophy of what we want to do. So what is the power of 5? One is passion, second is product or project choice, and then having the perseverance to do this and anticipate issues and learn from others' mistakes and others' successes so that you can incorporate those things in what you do day-to-day life. And from this, I want to move on in the next couple of minutes. I know that the time is short, but still, I want to say a few things to the students, where when you do these things operationally, I think you should also differentiate in 5 different ways. Because gone are the days where human resources means the guy who is processing a kind of a payroll or recruitment or retrenchment. Nowadays, HR means he has to understand the total vision of the entire company and market it to the other people and incorporate those people into the company and take them along for over 5, 7, 10-year kind of a period. So the definition of human resources itself has changed, and in your companies or when you do startup or when you work in companies, bring about that kind of a change where a kind of a matrix organization has to be there. It has to be hierarchy-less organization where for a given work or a project people are rewarded based on the success or the failure of that. So bring in the variable pay, employee stock options, group concept, end-to-end connectivity, cross-functional teams. This is the new change that who will bring about those changes? No government is ordering us to do that. It has to come from within, it has to come from the enterprise, it has to come from the leader. So incorporate that new concepts of working together, which is easily said, never taught in any of the schools or colleges. What you are taught in management institutions or any other technical institutions are tools. You have to be clever enough to use those tools to apply in your own context and use these abstract things in terms of learning, in terms of passion, in terms of teamwork, in terms of group concept. These things, there is no definition for this, there are no books for it, it cannot be taught, it has to be learned, because teaching means the pressure is on the person who is actually saying it or educating the other fellow. Learning means the pressure is on oneself. So you have to create that positive pressure on yourself to be able to learn and imbibe those things. And in terms of operational things, not only the sharing and empowerment and HR practices, we should also look at the best practices and have the ability to differentiate between what is controllable and what is not controllable. In whatever you do, there are a few aspects which are not in your control. Competition is not in your control. Pricing, either cost or selling prices, are not in your control. And international government policies, not in your control. Exchange rates, not in your control. Stock markets, not in your control. But what is in your control? You can decide. You can go back to the power of anticipation, power of passion, power of teamwork, power of HR, and power of the technical people coming together. What is in your control? You can decide which product you want to do. You can decide how much of integration you should have, how much of cost reduction you can bring about. Which markets you want to be present. What is internal to the organization, you are having 100% control of those things, right? So you have to have the differentiation between what is controllable and what is not, and concentrate on what is controllable for you to become a successful businessman or a leader. Anything that you look around, not only in this room or elsewhere, is not going to be existing unless there is a power of entrepreneurship and somebody thought of creating it, right? Neither the mics, the table, chair, buildings, institution itself, or pharmaceutical or educational or anything, the entire Johnson's group, what they're doing in terms of so many activities, nothing of that sort would be existing unless someone like your chairman or other people have thought about it and conceived it and created it and nurtured it and developed it, right? Which means what? There is nothing that is automatically happening in this world. So you have to use these tools of what you learned and combine it with the other things that I'm trying to tell you now and create something and live for something. And the last but not the least in terms of operational excellence is adopt in whatever you do the highest level of technology. That is going to do wonders for this country, and manufacturing excellence and innovation and technology is going to be the key for growth, and for that again enough tools and ammunition is available in this country. And the last but not the least is compliance, because globe is one, world is one, there is one quality that exists. So don't have this approach or attitude of you do some job and try to sell in some domestic location. If any export order comes, you try to take extra care. This kind of an attitudinal issue should not be there, because world is one and the compliance quality requirements, whether it is US FDA or UK MHRA and other things, is global benchmark and standards are there. So I would like to conclude by saying certain personal attributes that you should develop. Operational things I talked about when you are working in a company or going to a company or going to start a company. Strategic inputs I talked to you. But I would like to conclude by saying certain personal attributes which can be developed. As I said, Some people may have it in a larger measure compared to others, but everybody can develop. Everybody can become a leader. Everybody can do something which they have not thought about. Only when you do it and when you look back, you will yourself realize that, yes, I have it in me, so I'm looking back and doing. So one is human dignity. I'm very involved in this kind of a concepts of how a personality trait should be there for a leader. First and foremost is human dignity. What is common among all of us? We all come from different educational background, different social background, different financial background. We all look different. What is common among all of us? We are all human beings, right? So we have to give respect and take respect and create human dignity as the basic core foundation of anything that we do. That is when you endear people, you get involved in that, they get involved with you, they see reason, they see passion, they see your straightforwardness, they see your commitment, they are going to be with you. Not by, waving a wand and saying that I am the boss. They have to perceive and believe and accept that you are a leader for them. So that will come only from human dignity. And the second thing is dignity of labor. What is dignity of labor? Dignity of labor is all jobs are important, all people are important. Person should not feel that job is inferior to him or her and vice versa. That is where the clashes will begin and the full contribution will not come. Even the person taking care of the effluents in our pharmaceutical factory is as important as making an injectable product in a sterile controlled room. This person should not think that he is having two horns and the other fellow is doing a dirty job. It's not like that. It's like parts of the body. If I want to scratch and the finger says that why should I scratch, then we cannot exist. So it has to have a concept of coexistence from what I call as dignity of labor. And then the other point is you have to lead by example and communicate. Whenever the bad times are there, the communication has to be even more internally to the organization. Because there will be good times and bad times in industry, but you have to be communicating truthfully to all the employees and the stakeholders as you go forward. And I would like to conclude by saying that it doesn't cost the earth, but one can lead a socially relevant kind of a life in a very collaborative manner. Everybody knows the hare and tortoise story, but there is a twist to it also. Of course, the original story is that the hare was overconfident and it went just before the finish line, it went to sleep and the tortoise very slowly won the race. But then it said that, okay, I don't want to make this mistake, let's have the race again. And then it actually won the race because it didn't do the mistake that it did previously. Then the third time the tortoise said that let us have a new route and let us have the race again. In that new route, there was a kind of a rivulet, so it has to cross. So hare can't cross. The tortoise, even though very slowly it went across and went to the other side and it won the race. Because the hare was not thinking that there could be some catch into this new session. So the fourth time what they did, they collaborated between them, fixed the same route as the third one and said that on the land, the hare actually carried the tortoise. On water, the tortoise carried the hare on its back. And then the finishing line, again the hare actually carried the tortoise, so that together they could achieve in the fastest time and both were winners. So this is the kind of a teamwork and examples that we should go by and lead a life which is socially relevant. I'll just give one example for what is socially relevant as life from taking a leaf out of what Orchid has done. With that I conclude my speech. You see, we have one of the factories that we have is in Alattur, in Old Mahabalipuram Road in Chennai. And that is in a village, that is in a place where there is a Tirupurur and 5-6 villages are there. There is a girls' high school there in Tirupurur. So I'm talking about 10-12 years back. When I was one day going to factory, I was generally asking the people as to what is happening there. That school was in existence for 46 years. Okay? And the average pass percentage was about 45 or so, which means every other girl is actually failing. It is a 10th and 12th standard public school, government girls' high school I'm talking about, in Tirupurur. So I said that, why should every other girl actually fail? Can we do something about it? So I said that let us approach it as a three-pronged approach. I said that let's go to the institution and make the infrastructure happen. Like they don't have benches, toilets, other basic infrastructure like boards and bags and uniforms and what have you. So we did all that. We provided that. We don't give money to politicians. We said that this is the facility we create. And second, I went to the district collector who is in charge of that area and said that, boss, what is the problem? Why this is happening? Then he said that the teachers don't come because we don't pay very well, and absenteeism from teachers' side itself is more. So I said that, okay, we are not in the business of recruiting teachers, but we will fund the administration. You get the teachers, we'll get more pay, and make sure that the better quality teachers continuously come to the classes. Then the third element is a social element, because what happens is that in villages, basically the man is a daily wage earner, and the woman is unempowered, uneducated, untrained, and she doesn't have an income of her own. So what this fellow does, most often he takes the daily wage, more than half he spends on liquor, and then he gets, if at all he gets something for the home he gets, then he just starts beating his wife. I don't know why people do that, but that's how it happens. And what the lady can do, she cannot hit him back, so she takes the khunnas or the anger onto the ward, onto her child. So because of that, the child suffers. There's no food at home, she skips school, and attendance is poor. So we said that let us create an educational tuition center in that area with Orchid employees and their respective wives or husbands as the case may be, and give free food first. At least for free food, this lady will send the girl to the tuition center. So we gave free food, we educated them free of cost. This went on for 5 years, and also we created an embroidery center where we bought embroidery and tailoring machines, and we bought and trained these ladies at home and made their produce get sold in the co-ops and other markets. So they could learn a new thing. They produce goods, they sell, we facilitate, and she started earning. When she is empowered, this guy, when he is drunk and is coming back and trying to hit his wife, he will think twice because she is able to stand on her own now, right? With all these initiatives of a three-pronged approach, you will be surprised to know that in the last 7 years, the average pass percentage from 45 has gone to 86, and last year 100% of the girls passed in that school. Now I have 2 daughters, okay? Is that girl better than my daughter, or my daughter is better than that girl? That is not a comparison. Comparison is with one's own self. So this is one important message I want to give you, that girl in his or in her life, similarly in other initiatives, it could be men also in terms of vocational training and development and degrees and all that, many things we have done. I'm drawing those examples only to prove a point or to illustrate a point that if you are able to make a difference in somebody's life, whereby that person's life is better than what it would otherwise have been, you have done your job. That person need not be better than you, need not be better than your other friend. If the person has improved in his or her life and you played some role in it, that is a life worth living. So I conclude by saying, live for something, anything but something. Thank you.